So the reason why this conversation came up, or this is the topic of today's conversation, is I'm really interested in what taverns look like in Avallen, um, because we open with a tavern in the short story of the core rulebook, the introduction,
I can scroll
uh, which I had a heavy hand in putting together, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, you recall very correctly. Yeah. Yeah.
And sort of the tavern, but this isn't well, often when we think of taverns and role playing games. I have this kind of view of like the classic, either the classic Dungeons and Dragons style tavern, or of the which is based off of like the Tolkien like view of taverns, right? Of like the prancing pony of the hobbits, they get the prancing pony and Fellowship of the Rings and so on, where everyone gets together and they drink and so on, which is great, and it's been with us for many decades. But I just wanted to make sure what that looked like for Avallen, how close the taverns in Avallen, tavern or taverns in Avallen are to that concept, or if they deviate, because taverns are really important social centers for adventurers or in any kind of fantasy world. So being aware of what that means for our lore building, I think is an important question to at least touch upon as we continue to build our fantasy spaces. But what are your thoughts on that? Darren?
Yeah, I agree. I agree
I
completely.
concur.
Yeah, I concur. But what's most interesting about it is that we have two distinct cultures here. We have the traditional Varlic, Celtic-inspired culture, and then we have the Raxian, Roman-inspired culture. And it turns out that the answer to the question is different for each of those cultures. So we have two answers, and it's a question of whether you want to answer both of those today or just one of them.
Yeah. I remember you talking about how Celtic / Valid culture. So whatever we have as part of a Valid culture, taverns wouldn't have been a thing natively to Avallen, right?
Yeah, no. So taverns are. I mean, the word tavern is literally a Roman word.
Roman word, yeah.
It's a Roman invention. In fact, let's go to Wiktionary, my favorite thing. We go to tavern on Wiktionary. Wiktionary is a fantastic website if people aren't familiar with it. It is the etymology, the Wikipedia for word etymology, and I love word etymology. Anyway, we have tavern. We have etymology, Middle English, tavern, from French, taverne, which means wine shop, from Latin, taberna, and taverna. And where does that come from? Taverna is a shop that can sell goods. Yeah, basically. Right. So then, you go on, you can go first.
Yeah, see, so like a taberna, if I look up a taberna, is like a shop or stall in ancient Rome. So when I think of a tavern in fantasy roleplay, I think of people buying beer and food, and sure. But does that mean that the tavern would be like a more general shop in the culture there? Like they would sell lamps and stuff like that? Like
yeah, so that's where it gets fun and interesting again, and we can like decide how much we want to deviate from history or not. So the taberna started as shops that could be selling anything, right? And there would usually be homes as well, so they would have food and cooking stations in them because they're a home like any other. The important part is these shops were situated on roads and streets. So it'd be a place that you could just walk off the street and duck inside, see what they have for sale, and then leave. And they might sell you some food while you're there as well, because they have it cooking and they have it on. So why not make some money making food for your local punters? Now, where it gets really interesting is the Romans built the roads not just in their towns, but also between towns, right? And you'd have this long stretch of roads, and then because they have a coin economy, they have mercantile enterprises, people started setting up stations on roads almost in the middle of nowhere for people to come and rest while they're traveling. Essentially, inns. We might call those inns today, but they were also called taberna. and
Mm-hmm.
their primary role was to give food and shelter to travelers.
Mm.
So then the words taberna or tavern became associated with a place where you'd get shelter and where you'd get food and likely
I see.
alcohol as well while you're traveling. And
Sure.
so
Over.
then by the time the Roman Empire expanded enough to reach Britain, um, I imagine that that word might have been more associated with places that you get food and shelter while you're traveling. So it's up to us. We can include the
Yeah.
word to just mean shops in general, but then you'd kind of. But the thing is, tavern, like you said, is such an important idea for fantasy role playing games,
Yeah.
and also as a place for people to gather in a real world anyway. That we probably want a word for that kind of location, and
Mm.
taverns just right there, waiting to be used as a real Roman sourced word that's still relevant today. That it's kind of perfect not to use that for that and just call shops something else. You know what I mean?
Right. Right. Now, do we have in the original story? I'm looking at it now.
Mm-hmm.
Do we actually use the word tavern in the original story, or do we just kind of assume it's a tavern?
That's a great question, dude. I got it right here on stream.
Yeah, I have the word. Um, Next came Ethan Esne's sharpened blade with courage to face this test. Then vowed Istra drew its blade, stalwart companion past death. Oh yeah, remember that poem? That's a good one.
Yeah, that's good.
I don't know if you've got if you've got into the book yet. The I guess Fairy Queens big ups in the chat. But I was looking through the beginning of it, and I was looking at some of the poems, and I was like, yeah, there's some fun stuff in there, man. I
Wait,
like
do you want me to read a poem?
No, 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 no. I'm just like
Carl, you want me to read one of your poems, don't you? Kurt's
I don't
very
want
good
you
at
to
writing
read.
poems.
I don't want you to read any poems. I just like them. That's all.
Okay,
I
well,
just like
chat might like
poetry.
them too. So
I
this is
just like them.
Against the Fairy Queen. This is our campaign book that's been released soon for Legends of Avallen, which is our own game, as well as 5th edition if you prefer D20. Um,
Mhm.
uh, it's in
Th-
the character player facing section of the book. We have the lore of the world and introduction, and we talk about all the clans using poetry, as in
Yeah.
we tell you about the clans using the language of the bards, what the locals might say. So it's
Yeah.
in world. So you gotta pick a poem for me now, Kurt, because I'm gonna read one of
Um.
them. So you pick.
Sure. I mean, pick any of them. Pick. Well. Yeah. On that. What do you have on that page? I can't even see what you have on
Oh,
that page.
actually,
Because I'm
I
looking
have my
for.
favorite one. I'll pick my favorite one.
Oh,
I
sure.
have a
Sure.
favorite. Actually, I have a few favorites, but this one really is my favorite. This poem is about the Mucker Levy, which
Sure.
is a real um, Scottish Celtic beast of legend. It is a fearsome creature that walks out of the sea and brings plague and death to the islands near the Shetlands and places like that. And in our world, it is one of the Fiethra. These are the great abominations that used to rule Avallen before the gods came to power. Anyway, the poem goes: Hrod heard the Mucker Levy's cry, and he recalled advice he should try. First, turn to the east, lay down for the beast, then you die. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a very child limerick type thing.
Yeah.
So it's like a dark limerick, so to speak. No, I like. I think the ones I'm really fond of too are because I think for each one, except for the limericks, I don't call them limericks,
Yeah.
but the ones like with interesting like cross rhymes or whatever, I do say what the name of the poem is because I want to encourage like players in our world to like explore those forms and make their own. To either memorize the ones that we have as like a Valak poetry type thing, which I think is like a bard or feely flex, or to make their own in those styles.
Yeah.
And limericks are a good one, like because they're relatively short and easy to write.
But I mean, actually, so
But
what Kurt is saying here is when he said the name of the poem, what he means is the Welsh name for the form of that poem. So
yeah,
it should be obvious, but for obviously a lot of people aren't actually familiar with Wales and Welsh culture. In Wales, they're very proud of the poetic history, and they have a long list of poetic forms, many of which are very deep and intricate with internal rhyming schemes like modern rap music might have, where you have rhyme at one end of the sentence and then rhymes at the middle of another sentence, and they have this strict format that you're supposed to follow, with beats and syllables. And Kurt had a lot of fun of obeying those schemes to make his own stuff.
Yeah, they're very challenging, and when you look at the historical ones, I mean, there's something definitely lost too in trying to write in English, because there's this kind of like lilting beauty to Welsh that I can't capture as well, or that I try to the best I can with my English sensibility, but it still feels different, right? Like, and it's something but I think the forms themselves are worth exploring because I think they're really interesting. Well, anyway, so the story starts in the short story we have with some interesting poems in the core rule book, and then the story starts with a bard who's come by and singing to Raxians and Valak people within a tavern type space, right?
Yeah, exactly. I don't think we state that it's a tavern, but it's very much implied because there's a bar.
Oh no, it is.
Yeah.
Let's write. It says Lysera exited the tavern into the warm spring night.
Oh, so it is explicit as well. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, so we do say the word. We do say the word tavern.
Yeah.
And then the way we use the tavern is it's a place for eating and drinking, but that doesn't preclude us from turning into making it more like the taberna style, or is that a different style? Is that a different thing?
No, I think what we're saying is that we're going to ignore the definition of taberna as a shop store and just focus entirely on the place for food and shelter, even if that is inside a town or outside of a town.
Yeah. I mean, would it be too, because from what I read as a my armchair Wikipedia expert.
Yeah.
Now, in the entry for taberna, it says that taberna revitalized the Roman economy because they were the first permanent retail structures.
Slow down, dude. Talk a bit slower.
Sorry. Taberna revolutionized the Roman economy because they were the first permanent retail structures within cities, which signified persistent growth and expansion within the economy. And taberna also provided places for a variety of agricultural and industrial products to be sold, like wheat, bread, wine, jewelry, and other items. And it's likely that the taberna were also structures where free grain would be distributed to the public. Moreover, taberna were used as lucrative measures to gain upward mobility for the freedman class. And although the occupation
basically it enabled capitalism for the masses in a way, like independent business owners, which was revolutionary. So what I'm saying is that this is one of those times where we somewhat deviate from history, or maybe embrace it in a way, but we say that word tavern, we save it for the things that we know we mean when we say tavern in a modern context, because that is still accurate for the time. And then for those other places, we call them shops. And we still emphasize, we can still be historical and say, hey, the Raxians have this shop idea, right? The Valak didn't have shops, or don't have shops still. But the Raxians introduced that to Avallen, and that is something that gives them a mercantile edge, and it also attracts Valak as well. There are many Valak that then come to Raxian towns and cities to set up shops, so that they can earn a regular income that doesn't involve farming or hunting or being a warrior for hire, right?
Yeah, and I agree with that. But I do. What I'm suggesting, I guess, is at least in Pencara lands, whether or not these shops should actually take on the name of taberna, but then you add in like for example, taberna libraria would be a bookshop, right? Or taberna vinaria would be a wine shop. Is that going too deep? Or is that cool?
But I mean, it depends. And then are we saying then taverns are called taverns with a V, and then we have taberna for other things instead? Is that what you're suggesting?
Yeah, like there's two different words with
yeah, it's awkward. I don't know. At that point, I kind of feel like you just want to call them shops. They have.
Sure, because I see. Yeah.
When anyone in chat, what do they think? How slavish should we be to the root languages and things like that?
Yeah. It's tricky, right? Because we're filtering this kind of history through our modern conception of these words, but then that's something I try to be conscious of like using words that didn't exist yet or whatever, or concepts that didn't exist in the language, but they do exist because we're the ones who are writing it in the modern time and not actually existing back then. I think it's tricky. I think a good example of that is like in our philosopher class in, I guess, Fairy Queen, the way we describe the sort of philosophical states like existentialism, right? Which is not something that, not an exact term that would have existed, and is more of a modern philosophical concept, but it feels like something that's appropriate to the character class that we're trying to develop, right? So
Yeah,
it's
because I apparently can't spell existentialism. I proved that live on Twitch right now.
What
Existentialism. Is that not how you spell existentialism?
existential existentialism.
Existentialism. I swear that's how you spell it.
Existentialism is EXISTNTIALISM.
Yeah, I think that's
Existentialism.
how I spell it. Right.
Yeah,
Let
you
me
got
check.
it.
Let me ask Google Senpai.
Yeah.
Existential. What have I? Oh. I did Shialism. It's just Shionism. Okay. No, wait. I got it right there. Oh no. Oh, it's I. Okay, it's I instead of IO. Sorry, this is not the most entertaining thing in the world. Watching me struggle.
Yeah, it'd be. Munibun's is arguing that it'd be a cool educational thing, but also be free.
Munibun's is fence sitting.
No, yeah, sure. That's. I mean, again, what I'm suggesting is okay. So yeah, we're getting to the thing that we're writing. Right? We're talking about a tavern, and
Yep.
we're trying to find what a tavern means in our fantasy world because it's so important, and whether or not other shops are a tavern, and that'd be the easiest thing to do, right? Because that's what other people do, and that's what other fantasy worlds do. And when someone plays a fantasy game, you don't necessarily want it to be a whole etymology academic lesson in in the difference in language. I mean, maybe you don't want that, or maybe some people do. I don't know. It's hard, man.
Maybe you're right, because okay, so the reason why you might want to use a word, I'm talking about game design now, the reason why you might want to use a word that is familiar yet obviously different or seems related. So for example, if we use the word tavern for taverns and the word taberna for other shops, I mean, it's not obvious there's a link there, but people might ask, right? Why are they called taberna instead of shops? And then you can come up with an explanation. And so adding that friction there in the cognitive load of it being a word you don't recognize leads to a question. Why is it called that? And then you can answer the question. And that might be a benefit, because if we just called them taverns and shops, that's what everyone expects, and then it leads to no questions. Well, of course they have taverns and shops. But if we lead to questions, then we can say, well, actually, taverns are a Roman invention. They came from Rome, and now they've come to Avallen, as in the Raxians invented them, and they've come to Avallen. So by using those two words and using a word that's not familiar for shop, we could lead to questions that could lead to answers that elucidate the world more, which then make people expect, oh, so if the Raxians brought taverns to Avallen and taberna to Avallen, then what do the Valak have? Do they not have taverns? And the answer is no, they don't, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I rather like that, because then you're choosing something from history and building a bit. Would this be top down or bottom up? This would be a bit top down, right?
Top
like
down,
this would be a top down thing, because what we're saying is, this is interesting. Like, this is something that was a different term, and again, this is just for like the Valak stuff, right? Like within the shop, if something's called taberna, not whatever, then you know that it's either Raxian or Raxian inspired, and you can probably get Raxian goods there, right?
Yeah.
But if you go to a different shop that doesn't have that name, but they sell books or wine or whatever, they're probably not affiliated with the Raxian Empire. And I think that's interesting. I kind of actively like that.
Yeah, I think that point has persuaded me to actually, we should call the shops taberna, just to make people question why they called that.
Yeah, especially if they're, and exactly what you talked about, right? Where you could have had everything was called taberna, but specifically the ones that serve food and drink whatever are called taverns. As long as you think that makes sense within the context of our world linguistic elements.
So then that then gets interesting. I'm not sure.
Or we just assume that the Celtic language matches our English, and then like in Raxian, the taverns are called taberna
Yeah, that
something.
might be it as well. That's what I was kind of leaning towards too. Is that there's a Raxian pronunciation and then there's a Valak pronunciation, and
Yeah,
the Valak
and
called them
Araxian,
taverns and the Raxians taverna. Yeah,
yeah, and Araxian pronunciation is basically just Latin anyway, right? So
yeah.
we're not like we're not making up a new language really for
No, and our
for
Valak pronunciation
Russian.
is pretty much Welsh and
Yeah,
Celtic
exactly.
Welsh. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Wow,
yeah, I
two
did.
two nerds talk about the word tavern for half an hour.
I told you these are deep questions. These
Yeah,
are hard
yeah.
questions to answer. You know, it's like, and they'll have huge repercussions for our world building
Mm.
down the line. So, and I think that's interesting. All right, so we've settled that there's the Roman word
Okay.
taberna, but the ones that have food and drink that we know it, the Celtics will often just call that the tavern because that's the most important thing, right?
Yes.
That's where they want to spend their money. They want to sleep somewhere if they're traveling and drink and
Yes,
so
yeah,
on.
and get some ale, maybe some wine.
Get some ale, yeah. Get some imported wine and so on. All right, so
I'm writing this down.
So what does
Raxians introduced taberna to Avallen. Taberna are independent, family-owned shops. Yep. Of all varieties. However, some taberna are used as locations of shelter and food for a price on Raxian roads for travelers, as well as probably near gates in Raxian settlements. This has led the word tavern, a Valak corruption. Is corruption the right word?
just use it for now. Just use
Yeah.
it for now. Yeah.
Corruption.
Wait, is there? But what would the actual Welsh way of saying tavern? Is it e taverna? Taverna?
Yeah, a tavern. Tavern.
Oh, I mean, it wouldn't. I thought it would have an F in it. Not, it's not F, right?
Yeah, it has an F in it. Yeah.
Okay, but we're not gonna spell it that way.
No, probably not.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't. For words that are familiar with
Yeah.
people, I don't do it because it can lead to confusion. Funny enough, like the Avallen, right? The world name should be Avallen, but I didn't do that because I knew that people would then say Avalon.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Right. There you go. See, these are great things to talk about. These are important.
This is the word tavern, a Valak corruption of the word taverna to mean tavern. How'd you finish that sentence? To mean a place of food and drink. Food, drink, and shelter. Yeah. Drink and shelter. Cool.
Yeah.
But not just a place of food and drink. A place to buy food, drink, and shelter. Which, as opposed to, I guess, communal halls in Valak villages and towns. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, opposed to the communal halls. So wait, in the sense of Valak villages and town halls, these communal halls, like how do those function in Valak culture? So let's say a village doesn't have a tavern, but they do have communal halls. Is that like a place that's reserved for special occasions, or do they just get together and drink every night? Like what's?
I think it's a bit of both. I think it's get together special occasions. Maybe it's a once or twice a week kind of thing. Maybe it is every night. I actually don't know too much about that, to be honest.
Okay.
I do think, though, that maybe the comparison isn't quite apt in that if you had travelers come into the town, I don't think maybe they would sleep in the hall, but I think it's more likely that they'd have to be accepted into someone's home or sleep with the animals, right? I think that's probably more likely to be the case. So I imagine.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Sure, like sleeping, like the old sleeping in the major. So I got you. So in contrast, Valak communal halls were reserved for community drinking,
Yeah.
and travelers often either have to find lodgings with kind kind native what's it called
Locals.
denizens of the village,
Yeah.
either the chief or a holy person, right?
No, I think
Which-
anyone could like offer shelter, right? It doesn't have to be those people. So I think you had it right
kinda-
just the first time.
Yeah.
Just denizens.
And there's a bit of honor there, right? Like extending hospitality.
Yeah, we have that somewhere in the rulebook actually.
Yeah.
We have
Yeah,
that.
that's like a virtue. That's a virtue. That's a Valak virtue.
Yeah.
So in a way, hospitality, they wouldn't expect money, right? Because that's if it's Valak to Valak, the whole idea of trading lodging for money is a very Raxian idea.
Yeah, exactly. we have a section
Right.
on in our social section. We have Varlic
Yeah.
hospitality. Though times can be harsh, most Varlic folk are amicable to travellers as they often bring news, trade, and talents. That said, there are some more remote communities that are suspicious of outsiders or outright hostile. Yeah. So I think the idea is that there's still trade happening, but it's not necessarily transactional, right? You want to be welcoming to travellers because they bring things to communities, and it's a way to gain things from outside of your town, right? If you're hostile to travellers, then other people will hear about it, and then no one will come visit your village, and then you won't get things from outside your village, right? So
Yeah, right. So yeah, 100%. So they, like there's ways to do it, but what that means for us is being clear with people with like in our source book that we're writing. That's very helpful for narrators to understand the difference, right? When they go to a Valak village, they shouldn't be looking for the local tavern. They should be looking to talk to the chief or say, "Hey, can we stay here?"
Yeah, exactly.
overnight?
Making a connection with the people.
Yeah, which is and that's like and could lead to a parlay of some sort, especially if they have someone who's not Valak in their party, like the Raxians. That's definitely like a parlay situation, right?
Yeah, it's something to talk about for sure. Yeah.
So okay, that's fun. I love that.
Yeah, you're right.
I love that.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that's much different from a lot of typical fantasy tropes about traveling adventurers. Cool.
Can you write that down actually, or shall I write that down? This
I kind of did.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. This means so with that in mind, narrators of Legends of Avallen
Just do Avallen.
of Avallen should keep in mind. Oh, and maybe Adventures in Avallen.
Yeah, Adventures in Avallen. Yeah.
That when they are deep in Valak lands, it is more likely that they should engage in respectful parlays with Valak with
local
village village leaders deep in Valak where when they're traveling deep in Valak lands when looking for a place to stay overnight rather than expecting to trade coin for food and board as they might in the more modernized Pencower territories. Yeah, and I think that's something that's kind of interesting about Avallen, right? Which is a lot of time, like you could go different ways with like fantasy tropes, and the most common fantasy trope is like the ancient cultures have all these ancient magics, and now we're in the modern day and we lost that stuff. That's like one way to do it. And we have old stuff, obviously, right? Because everyone's are ancient, and there's like old stuff as well, and old societies. But I love this idea of this being like, we know it's an ancient fantasy world, but we're at a point where it feels new because of how the culture is working, right?
Yeah,
It's
dude, it's so wild because I mean, even when I was doing my research for Legends of Avallen years ago now, it was so bizarre just to read about the Romans. I mean, I knew about the Romans, but I didn't know everything. And when you read into Roman history and culture and what they had going on, it's so similar to what we have going on now. Like it really
Mhm.
was just a modern world, just without electricity. Like they had shops, they had toilets, they had
Yeah,
taxes, they had local police, they had fire departments, they had judges, they had politicians, like and they had democracy in places. Like
yeah.
everything that we might associate
Think
with
of
modern living, really, except for
yeah,
advanced technology, they really did have. So it's very easy to get in the
which
mindset of that. It's even more modern than medieval fantasy settings in a way.
yeah,
Um,
which
you know,
which makes a lot of sense because it was a very conscious effort post Renaissance, of people to sort of look to the logic of the ancient civilizations, pre-medieval civilizations. Of course, we know now that I think the way we view medieval civilizations is kind of also antiquated in itself. Right, they weren't actually the Dark Ages. There was a lot of progress,
yeah,
and there were a lot of
yeah,
progressive things too. Um, but that's like the perception that we have in fantasy that we sort of rely on. And the Romans themselves, they were looking backwards at also trying to emulate the Greeks, right?
yeah, yeah.
Which is also interesting.
But so
Um,
then to your point, so then what's wild is having that culture present in the world, which is so familiar in a way, and then
mhm.
you have it starkly contrasted with the Varlic, which was inspired by the Celts, which very much have a different culture and way of living that we are not used to. And it is
Right,
also
right.
very different to medieval fantasy settings as well. It's not like medieval culture either.
Yeah, yeah. It feels almost in some ways prehistoric,
Yeah,
because they didn't have like the Celts didn't have a writing system and so on, and their culture and songs and his stories weren't really recorded until centuries later, until after the fact. So from our point of view, we have to sort of like use this stuff and know that we can't like point. We can only point to the historical documents from like Rome and so on. But we also have that creativity, and that's what makes it feel new and exciting and kind of fun for that reason.
yeah,
Because it
yeah,
feels like an invention rather than being beholden to something that's etched in stone, and
yeah,
I think that's fun. It's
yeah.
cool.
With the Celts, we really have three source materials. One is architecture and archaeology that's found, just relics of the past. Then
Mhm.
we have the tales written down by the Romans at the time, which are obviously drenched in propaganda and
Yeah,
and outside perspective that's often trying to vilify the Celtic lifestyle and make it worthy of invasion and conquering. And then the third is the tales from the Celts themselves that are then filtered through a Christian lens. These are
mm.
tales that have been carried forward from history, from oral histories, and then written down, but often written down by priests in the medieval era,
Right.
and yeah, filtered through this Celtic lens. So we don't
Yeah,
have
and
much directly from them. Yeah,
yeah, so we're trying to use our imagination a bit about what it could have been like,
yeah,
which is which is how history worked for society, often worked for a long time, and I think that's okay. It's a bit more progressive. So yeah, so I love this idea of making sure that we're making our player base aware that taverns are a thing, but they're a new thing. They're not an ancient. They're kind of
yeah.
exciting, right?
Yeah, you're
They're
right. Yeah, that's a good way of
yeah,
putting it.
yeah. They're the shopping malls of their time, right?
Yeah.
they're the fucking valley in the 80s of like,
Yeah,
oh,
you're right.
cool.
Like you
Yeah,
can imagine like a Varlic warrior coming down from the Penbythe clan and talking to his
yeah,
buddy and saying, "Wait, you've been to a tavern? I've heard about them.
yeah,
I know them
exactly.
before."
That's so cool. That's such a cool role playing opportunity, right? Like,
Yeah,
or like to be an enterprising Raxian that like my dream is to bring taverns to the lands of the Pendrig
yeah,
and to be the first tavern in the mountains. Like,
yeah,
and then when a tavern is opened in these new territories that are not Raxian, they're not going to be old. They're going to be like new timber, and they're going to have the smell of
yeah,
new
yeah,
wood, and that's fun. Like, I think that's cool.
yeah. Because like in the UK, obviously we have pubs all over the place, and lots of them are literally 1,000 years old. or near enough anyway. And so the pubs in, at least where I'm from, are often associated with old buildings. But yeah, of course, they'll be brand new. And I guess so. What? Let's just brainstorm for a second. What would be the appeal of a tavern to a Varlic warrior? Because obviously they have their drinking hall locally, right? They have the communal hall. People get together there and they drink and party and sing songs and do poetry. So why is a tavern different?
I think what Raxian what you were talking about before was transactionalism.
Yeah.
Raxians are starting to introduce this idea of the value of transactions, right? Which we take for granted because we're fucking in a capitalistic hellscape. But when you're growing up in like a village and like a communal thing and things are based on honor and so on, it's nice for a traveling Valak warrior to be like, oh, I could just take this coin that I got from somewhere else and drink as much as I fucking want. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be, I don't really have to like worry about like status.
Yeah, exactly. Like status. That's the thing, isn't it? It's like, because you can imagine the thought process might be, oh, you know, if I didn't do so good on the hunt this week, or if I didn't do so good on the cattle raid this week, then maybe your breyer might like not let you have as much alcohol as you would like, or not be able to feast as much as you would want, for example. But in the Rex society, where you can just pay some coin, as long as you've got the coin, you can get whatever you want.
Yeah, also, status,
there's more than one taverns, right? You could get bored in one tavern and then go to another one. That might be revolutionary too.
Yeah, just like in real life, it's not just one communal space. And the fact that you have, since it is mercantile, having different places that have different drinks and wine, you know, they're being competitive, rather than just, all right, this is the wine that our village makes or our clan makes and is made for like the last few centuries. There's like a financial incentive for people to bring things in and through trade that maybe hasn't existed in quite the level that it does now. Taverns are the Shopify of its time. It's the
you mean the Temu or Timo? Or?
The Temu. It's the Temu of its time. Okay, Zoomers. That's what taverns were. So thinking back to like you're saying, another interesting thing about your place in making Avallen is the fact that you're from England, living in Wales.
Yeah.
But you're completely British. And like where I grew up in fucking, even though I love fantasy and RPGs, I didn't have any like pubs and taverns in SoCal. I mean, we had bars, but that's still like different. Like the vibe is different from like a British tavern or British pub or whatever, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, one of the main differences is that kids are allowed in pubs, right? It's a family space. At least
right. Yeah. And actually in America, the thing that's closest to that now are like craft beer spots, like craft beer.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Yes. So when I took my son in America,
shout out Random House Beers. Is it Random House? Random Row in
Random Row
in Virginia.
Somewhere.
Nice. Yeah, Random Row in Virginia.
Oh sure, yeah. I know your friend's brothers, right?
Yes, that's right. In Charlottesville.
Charlottesville.
Random Row in Charlottesville.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, but you're right. That space was family friendly. They had board games in there and everything. Yeah.
Yeah. So making sure that we stress that communal aspect of taverns, because again, you have this idea of a fantasy RPG of like seedy scoundrels in a room and fucking like people, you know, off on an adventure and thieves and so on, which could still be present.
Yeah.
But there should also just be families of Rexians, like, all right, well, I'm traveling for business and we have to eat here, kind of thing. And that's fun too.
We have a comment from Moonabons in the chat. Someone from the Discord says, quote, "More Pen Levy, please," end quote. So I suggest putting this tavern in the Pen Levy territory.
So yeah, shoot. Pen Levy. See, that's what I'm talking about. I love the pen. I love that people are gravitating towards these different, clans, and I love the Pen Levy as well, actually. And I'm always fighting for the issue with the Pen Levy is the fact that they're probably the most anti-Rexian.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, you should make a Avallen clan. Wait, we have people are watching from the Discord. Is that a thing? I didn't even realize.
No, someone said that they couldn't make it to the stream because I posted, "Hey, we're live." They said, "But please make something Pen Levy related." But they're not here,
Oh,
so I really think they have no say. Although I do
oh
appreciate
no, no,
the
nothing.
comment.
No, they should know. They should know that in the near future on the stream, we definitely want to make something for the Pen Levy. In fact, let's commit to making something for the Pen Levy next week.
Sure, done, sold. And maybe they can make it. So maybe you can make it then. But yeah, the Pen Levy are our answer to what the Raxians and modern understandings of what the Celts were. Because what the Romans said about the Celts were often half truths, but there were truths there, right? And so the Pen Levy are kind of like our embodiment of what you think of like the barbaric, tribal, Celtic warrior people, kind of in a way. But again, we don't want to just stick them in that bucket of barbarian. There's a lot more to them than that. The reason why they live this way is because they're from an environment that's very, very harsh, right?
Yeah. And they have this kind of, I know I might call it a certain stoicism, or that's a Latin term, a Roman term, but they have a certain like Spartan stoicism about them that I think can be admired. So even though they're barbarians, I feel like they're very, they do a lot of raids and they take heads and they have those elements of them, but from their point of view, it's a very honorable and cultural thing, and they're kind of trying to live an honorable life till they could be reunited with the most honorable of the fucking everones, which is the Everstranger, right?
Yeah.
Who's the sort of the dark guy, the dark god to other points of view, but he's like the benevolent deliverer from pain and suffering for the Pen Levy, I think. Anyway, yes, next week let's do something about the Pen Levy. I would love to do that.
Yeah, let's do it.
But this week we are still kind of in Pencarolands, and we're gonna make a tavern. Is that fair? We got
okay. Let's make a tavern. We've got 45 minutes. Let's actually make the tavern. We've been talking about taverns now. Let's make something.
So first of all, important thing is, what's the name of the tavern, Darren?
Well, shoot, I don't know, Kurt. You put me in so far. I ain't got a name prepared. Chat. We need a tavern name. What? So let's take an example. In Valonium we have the Twins. And then we have the Ring, I think, are two taverns.
The bee's knees.
The bee's knees.
Yeah. Well, okay. All we have about this tavern right now is from the short story, right? First of all.
Oh, so we are making the tavern from the short story, yeah?
I would say so. I think that's a good adventuring place. So the reason why I think this is a good starting point is it's in the short story of Avallen. It's next to an adventure spot, which is the Argol Forest, which is a well-known, which kind of is known to be thinner.
Yes.
So there's like a portal to the other world, or ways to get into the other world through that forest.
Yeah.
So it would be, and also it has a strong Raxian presence.
Yeah.
So
let me introduce the worlds to the stream a little bit. So
sure, go ahead.
We have the map of Avallen here.
Dory, bee's knees is very much a contention, Runabuns. It's a contention.
Yeah. Let's find the Latin words for bee's knees.
God damn it. All right, I'm done.
You
tell the word. I'll like that. Yeah.
So this is our Avallen. The Raxian Empire is to the south east of here. And so the Raxians came inland on the east of Avallen here. And the Pencawerd, they were the clan that once ruled all of the south of Avallen. But they allied with the Raxian Empire and ceded much of their territory to them. And then together they invaded north and pushed the other clans back. So we have 5 clans in Avallen. We have the Pencawerd. We have the Penbaith, which are those in the forest here, the great forest of Avallen. Then we have the Pendraig that live in the north in the mountainous region. We have the Penlevy, who we were talking about earlier. They live in the swamps of Avallen. They used to have a region here in the south, but were recently pushed out by the Raxians east, which is left to a lot of tension that is played out in the Against the Fairy Queen campaign book. And then finally we have the Penavunk, which are the most recluse and distant of the violent clans, who often don't pay attention to what's happening in the mainland. So today we're talking about Ardgoldre, which is the location of our opening story in the Legends of Avallen core rulebook. This is I think it was once a Varlic settlement that's become a Rexian town associated with these tin mines here, the Orosha mines. And also, as Kurt said, there's Argol, the forest. You go, Kurt?
Yeah, when we think of like a classic place of like a classic fantasy starting point, it's the perfect place to start a village, start an adventure for a mixed party of Rexian and Valix because of all of these things we just talked about.
Yeah.
Sorry. Also, I want to say this on stream.
Yes.
In the if you get against the Fairy Queen, there is a secret about the Penafont lands sewed into the flavor of, but it's not explicit. So I'm curious about whether or not anyone will catch that in the future.
True. Big and true. Yeah.
But that's all I'll say about that for now. But there's a secret, lore secret, hidden within the poetry, so to speak. Anyway.
There's two, even, actually, I guess, kind of, sort of.
Oh, yeah, I guess
kind of related. But yeah, let us know what you think Kurt is talking about.
Yeah. I want rampant baseless speculation to populate our stream one day.
Yeah, and on the Discord as well. Yeah, please.
Yeah, and for us to just tongue-in-cheek go, no, that's not it. No, I'm not saying.
I mean, dude, some of our people are really smart. They'll get it immediatly. They'll be like, oh, yeah, no, I thought that was obvious. Yeah. Was that a secret?
Fuck you. Go to hell. No, we can. Yeah, but we can always confirm it and then just like really confirm it when it makes writing. Or we could be what G.R.R. Mountain does, and if someone gets it right, they're like, "No, that wasn't it," and just like change it.
And just change your mind, yeah.
Yeah, because people can't be allowed to predict what you're saying. It always has to be subversive. Anyway, so yeah, all right. Genua. So to say the bee's knees in Latin is Genua apis.
It's like actually really strange and like not a bad. I'm okay with calling it that for now.
Fine,
as placeholder.
Would you say Genoa apis? Hold on. Is it Genoa apis? Genoa apis in Latin.
Okay.
Genoa apis. The bee. God, I don't know why. We reserve the right to change it.
Yes.
We reserve.
The thing is, Runebuns is a bloody writer, so you just come in and change it back.
That's fair. Runebuns can do what you want. What I mean is, I think we'll call it Jonapis unless a better name presents itself, right?
Yes.
Or we just or the reason it's called Genoapis is because it does have to. It's a the main drink that they sell is the import from Rexian land from Valonium, which is it's like a honey mead or something.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be from Valonium. It could be from.
Sure. But they serve a very particularly sweet honey mead.
God! Now we're making it part of the lore, and it makes sense. Yeah, all right, fine.
Yeah. So there you go. That's how you make it. You justify it.
The bees, but why is it knees? I guess honey, they collect pollen on their knees, don't they? God damn it!
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
it
works.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So they recognize and it's like, and the bees are more common in sort of because the Pencara lands. See, now we're really cooking. The Pencara lands are like the plains, right? And so flowers and flower fields and so on are a huge part of the Pencower. How do you say fauna, right?
Environment.
What environment? Yeah, the habitat. And then in terms of fauna,
fauna.
In terms of fauna, bees are going to be a big part of that, right?
Yes,
pollination and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, they are everywhere because bees are fucking important to every ecosystem ever. But definitely, I think I could imagine the Pencara lands, flowers, and also the Everchild, being this kind of like half like the birds and the bees type thing. It's this kind of two-faced. What's the correct? What word am I looking for? This two-faced to put it sort of derogatorily, or multifaceted to put it maybe nicer. the average child, and bees are a big part of that, right? Because they sting. They have the thing where they're protective, but
Sure.
they make something delicious for humankind that we can also see. Now that makes me think: what does bee harvesting look like in Valak in in the Pencara lands?
Oh,
But we don't have to just explore
no,
that now.
that's not. Yeah, sure.
But yes, so it means the bees needs interaction. We could be more obtuse about that. The name refers to the gathering of pollen
Yeah.
on bees as they on I don't want to say bees knees. I'm trying not to say bees knees.
Yeah.
On
I'm now
bees.
looking up the etymology of bees' knees.
I think it's just like a rhyming. It's just like a what do you call it? A wordplay, right?
Yeah, they just think it's just a rhyming nonsense phrase like cat's pajamas, cat's whiskers, cat's meow, monkey's eyebrows. Yeah. Fair enough. I was hoping it might actually have to do something to do with pollen. But no.
Anyways, as a which leads to the preparation of the delicious and valuable honey found in their hives, whatever their hives. Now here's a question: because it's named Genoa Apis, does that mean that the owner is Valak, or does that mean the owner is Raxian?
I think that either way, they would give it a Raxian name to draw in their Raxians. I think if they gave it a Varlic name, people might be.
So then
off.
I think it's interesting. I think it might be more interesting than if it's a Valak person who loves Raxian culture, right?
Or a Varlic person that is just adapting to Raxian culture, right? They don't have to love it necessarily.
Oh, sure. Okay, fair enough. Or they could just be an enterprising. Okay, yeah, whatever their name is. So let's give them a name. Let's name the owner. The owner. What's their name? Let's hear. I'm gonna go to our useful index of names from the Pencower.
Sure.
So
are we settled on the owner being Varlic then, as opposed to Raxian?
I think so. I think the way I imagine it is, at least when I wrote the story, you have like the Raxians coming in, but it's still a Valak safe space, so to speak.
Yeah.
And so in order to make it a hub for both Raxians and Valak,
right, it'd have to be owned by a Valak.
I think I think it would have to be owned by a Valak person that is part of the community, but still trying to get business from the Raxians.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I'm sold. Maybe it should be a family. It should be a family-owned business, not just one person. There should be like a husband and wife. Yeah. Okay.
The owners.
Yeah.
Akko and I think Akko and Istrad. How about that?
No, we used Istrad for something else, didn't we? Isn't she? She's a hero in the tale.
No. The hero is Let me make sure I get my.
In the poem, I mean, in the tale.
Isn't it? Oh, maybe I did. I just really like the name Istrad. Oh yeah. No, she's named after the hero. Obviously.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah. So if anyone asks, she's named after the hero.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
So
but you can't just name every character Istrad though, then say they're named after the hero Istrad. Yeah. Just going forward.
Well, I live in Nagoya, and half of the fucking white guys I meet here are named Mike. So like, you know. Like, people are allowed to have the same name.
Yeah. I'm just saying everyone, but you're right. Yeah, maybe there should only be 5.
How many Johns do you know? My brother and my dad are both named John.
Yeah, dude, it's so funny. You say that, and it's so true. Like, when we tell tales, it's so hard to find different names for every damn character. Because they need to be distinct to make it easier. But you're right. In real life, everyone's got the same bloody name.
When we write fantasy names, we're always just like, oh yeah, it has to be different, it has to be unique. But no, the way names work is you name people after things that you love. That's why we have a whole fucking generation of Bellas and Edwards and fucking what else? Where else?
But there's practical
Yeah.
reasons in storytelling and gameplay wise why you might obviously name
Sure,
everyone a
give them
different
a different
names
name.
and make it distinctive.
Yeah, I
But
get that. But in
you're
real
right.
life, people
You're
are
right.
named after heroes.
Yeah.
So anyway, by the way, remind me, that's gonna be a clip. Me going off on a rant about everyone's named Mike.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, so of course we can always change it, but yeah, the owners of Mistron have been married for I don't know, whatever you
they're
say.
both Valak, yeah.
Our Valak, our of a Valak family that have lived in this village. We'll make it nicer later. We're just getting an idea.
Yeah.
A long time. But recently established the Apis, taking inspiration from the taverns that they found in nearby Valonium, right?
Yeah.
That kind of thing. So it's a relatively new establishment. Is it how new is it? Is it that new?
Well, it depends when we're talking about, right? It depends what time period is this document set in, right?
Sure.
Because in the story, the inn's there, and then later on.
Oh, then we time skip.
Yeah, we time skip, and it's still there. So it's obviously got some age to it now.
Yeah. So maybe it's like for a few generations.
Yeah.
Like maybe Akko's father.
At least one.
Yeah. So.
No. I already put in now that I like that. For some reason, in my head, Istrad, she's Penkawer, and maybe Akko should be. I've made him Penlevy because someone wanted Penlevy lore, so there's a sneaky bit of Penlevy, but not really. I like the idea of him being like a traveler that came down and decided he likes this lifestyle and
then his name should definitely not be Akko there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was thinking that too. I'll change
Rannoch.
No, we have a Rannoch, but we can have another one.
No, Dear Mod.
Yep. Okay. Done.
Yeah. Or no, you know what? These names should be reserved because we have these names in for like these should be names that heroes should use too, right? Like maybe we should choose a totally different name. Let me choose something else that isn't in the book. Or all right, Dylan, Lewis, Owen.
I'm okay with Dylan for now.
Yeah. Oh, you're gonna spell with the I, not Y?
I mean, we can do. That'd be like. Dylan.
Is that too weird? Because the issue is the funny thing is it feels like a very modern name still.
Yeah, you think
if you
so?
put Dylan, Dyl. No, that spelling's okay.
Buns is keen for Owen. Just shout it in the chat. So let's do with Owen. I guess it is kind of Welsh as well. Owen.
Can his name be Owen? Sorry, go ahead. Owen.
Owen with an I. What do you think of Owen? No, let's go with Owen. Owen Wilson. Well, they don't have last names, do they?
Owen Wilson. Wow, Owen Wilson. Wow. Wait, do you know?
Oh yeah, sorry, I get what you're doing. Yes, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I get it. It'd be Owen at Wilson. But,
Owen at Wilson.
Yeah, it'd be Owen, son of Wilson. Yeah.
Owen, son of Wilson.
Yeah, but no, let's just do Owen.
Yeah, all right, just Owen. All right. But now in my head, he looks like Owen Wilson. But
no.
Anyway. Yeah, he has a crooked nose from a childhood accident.
Yeah. Okay.
So the owners, Owen and Istrad, are a Valak family that have lived for a long time.
Yeah, maybe they're older now. Like they're of late age. They've been here for 30, 40 years maybe.
Okay, and established the Genoa Apis in their youth.
In the youth, yeah.
Having taken inspiration from the taverns that they found in nearby Valonium, is it the Genoa Apis when you refer it, or just Genoa Apis?
Just Genoa
Feels like
Apis.
if you just
yeah, good question actually. Yeah.
Genoa Apis.
Yeah, let's do that.
For now, okay. For now, yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
Genoa Apis. So Genoa Apis is one of the main spaces in the village in which Raxian and Valak culture collide.
I was saying collide, but I kind of want to say mix instead. Collide just sounds too.
Yeah. Intertwine.
Sure. Yeah. Intertwine.
Yeah. Intertwine, intermix, something like that. Yeah. We can figure out the word later.
Let's just say I want to say featuring the sale of both Raxian wines and Barlic meads. Meads alongside what kind of music did the Raxians have?
Kind of music?
Yeah. What kind of music did the Barlics have?
Yeah, that's a good question. They would have done I know they would have done like choral songs, right? Because their writings have to do with that. And then we also have let's see here. Etruscan music had an influence on early Roman music. They had story ballets, apparently, like in the form of pantomimus.
Yeah, they have a lot of thespian stuff as well, right? Like they just have performances as well.
Yeah. Oh, I love this. Okay, I love this idea. So, okay, I'm gonna write it at the bottom, like
Unibun says dubstep.
Dubstep, yeah. How do you say dubstep in?
Don't stop.
Okay.
Don't encourage it.
Are musicians, right?
Yeah.
It's a singer and Owen a drummer, and they consciously seek out performers from both cultures and beyond to share their art with their customers, right?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Yeah. For that reason, Genoa Apis is a valuable source of information from as bards and fili traveling back and forth throughout Avallen often make it a point to rest and to relax, to
rest and earn some coin, right?
To rest and revel.
Rest and revel.
At a bit of R&R.
Yeah. Rest and reveling.
One of their favorite establishments in the Pencarlands or something. Something like that.
Yeah.
So that's the idea, right? So you have this idea of like Owen and Israd, they're like musicians and they love music. And that's probably why they're so willing to vibe with Raxian culture in the first place, is because they love the music and like the different art and they love their stuff and so it's like an artistic space for them, right?
Yeah.
So it's a different kind of trope. It's not like the okay, well, we're just poor tavern owners. They fucking love community building because they're musicians and they love art, and so that's where like it intersects because that's what the space they're trying to make.
Yeah, and I love your detail as well of tying bards in with knowledge and rumors and being a way for information to come through the tavern and being the hotspot for it, and then that itself then draws other people in, right? They
Yeah,
know
exactly.
that there's going to be information in this place. Bards come through here. They hear about from all of Avallen. Raxian merchants might want to come here then to hear about the nearest news about what's happening in the rest of Avallen because that can influence prices and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe even like do a sponsorship with a bard passing through, like, hey, like here, we'll give you this free like lantern. Just tell everyone about it, and whatever. So influencers, influencers, Zoomers. The bards were the influencers of their time.
Yeah. So now I'm thinking of two other things. One, I want to establish some more history about this place, like something that happened here that's of interest, perhaps. Or talk about the town that it's settled in, or something that happened to the town rather instead, and then tie into like adventure hooks and that kind of thing. But I feel like that's kind of already been answered in that the fact that it's a tavern, it's the obvious place to start an adventure. You've just said that it contains all this information. Maybe that's adventure hooky enough. You know what I mean? Do we have to add more to it for that? I probably don't think so. What do you think?
I think that's good. I'm curious about what it looks like. But I don't know how interested you are.
Sure. Yeah.
If do you have a way to just start drawing a map of it? Because that to me, I love tavern maps.
Yeah.
And I have an idea of what it looked like in my head when I wrote the story.
Interesting.
But I'm really curious about what you what you think it might look like.
Well, we have like architectural designs of Taverns in the Roman Empire, but it's not what we are imagining when we think.
Right. Yeah. Taverns are
like the parts of houses, the shop front of a house, basically, and that's not what we're thinking. That's not what we're imagining.
Maybe. I mean, they must live there, right?
Yes.
Right, and then.
So yeah, you're right. Actually, yeah, I guess there must be that element to it. There must be a living space for them, a kitchen, and then the main area. But we're imagining the later progression of Taverns, where they become an actual place for shelter, food, and drink, and it has to be a social community area. So that's a much larger space than what's on offer in traditional.
Yeah. I'm curious about what this looks like, because if I just imagine myself as like the fantasy tavern, I imagine like a bar. And like a bar space, and then stairs going up to like rooms. But would it be 2 stories? Is that too, would it be that be too advanced?
I think that probably is too advanced for this kind of town. I think that is frequent and common in Vallonium, but maybe in this town that might be too much. Yeah.
Yeah. So it would be like you walk in and there's like the barkeep, and there's like a bar where they have. Like, is it a bar? Like, do they have a bar? Does it look like
I think it makes sense to be a divide between the people making and serving the drinks and food and the customers, right?
Yeah, I think in the story I described him as like sitting at a bar, right? The bar, and then there's like tables and chairs, and then there's like an alcove where the performers perform, right? So
yes,
yeah. So in a big square, if this were a map, it would be.
Do you want me to start drawing, Kurt? Are you
kind of
to draw now? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. Okay. It's fun, What do you think, Munabuns? What do you think, chat? You guys want to see Darren's drafting skills?
Yeah.
And then I think, this is what got me into role-playing games, man. Maps and diagrams and shit. Like, I love that shit. Like, who doesn't? Who doesn't love a good floor plan? You know what I mean?
We got a big rectangle. What are we sticking in it?
So here's the thing. We assume it's a rectangle.
Yeah.
And it should be right, but also Valak buildings are like also roundhouses.
Yeah,
Like, should
but
it be round?
no, Rexian buildings are rectangular and
Okay, so we're assuming it's purely inspired. It's a rectangle style building.
yeah.
The rectangle. All right.
I mean,
That's
okay, fine. Let's entertain your thought further. Let's say
fine.
maybe there's a novelty to it. Maybe I don't. It depends how much they want to alienate the Rexian crowd, right? Are the Rexians gonna approach this building and think it's a tavern by looking at it and see it's a roundhouse? They might think it's a chief's house or something like that, right? Maybe it needs to be rectangular to look normal to attract attention.
Is it a roundhouse and then it has like fucking square rooms connected to it? I don't know. For like it used to be their home, the roundhouse, like a big roundhouse, and then they started just like putting additions on it as like the Rexians came in and they needed to make more money.
Yeah. Maybe a compromise. Maybe I like the idea of maybe there being a circular space within it somewhere. Maybe the communal area is circular in nature.
Yeah, see, there you go. That's interesting. All right, I can vibe with that. That's interesting.
And then that leaves also, if you put that in a corner, it leaves a nice space for a performance area.
Yeah. So what does that look like?
I'm doing it.
So they just kind of they just started building around their grandfather's old roundhouse.
Maybe I'm thinking more that it's inspired. Like it's not like there's a circular structure inside it. They added a circular structure inside to make it reminiscent of a roundhouse or something.
Whatever this. So it's like a stage.
Yeah.
A stage type space.
So I'm imagining. Can you see this, by the way?
I do. I can see it. Yeah. I see my phone.
So I'm imagining this space down here, this kind of brown area, is like the stage in this like kind of corner. And then they perform to the communal seating area here.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Cool.
Maybe there's an entrance here. Gosh, this is not fun. Thank you.
Yeah, I guess we need to get you a light pen or something so you can draw by hand.
Yep. Maybe. So there's an entrance here. I'm imagining like, I don't know, I guess like a bar here kind of thing with like a kitchen behind it, perhaps. Maybe this is like a kitchen area. Or just this whole area is for cooking.
Okay.
And then I guess there's going to be bedrooms, and then there'll be like a communal bedroom where it's like you just rent a space and you sleep on the floor.
Like the YMCA.
Do
you know what that is?
I mean, I know what YMCA is, but I didn't know people slept there. I had no idea. Yeah.
Oh, it's like it's like a communal space too. The YMCA.
Okay.
The young man. Was it stand for the
young man? Wait, I actually don't know what it stands for. Yeah.
No. It's the young man. Hold on, I'm looking.
Is it Christian Association?
Young Men's Christian Association.
Yeah. Cool. Okay.
And sometimes they would have like public gyms and stuff and lodging. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they would have lodging.
Communal quarters. Drinking. What do we call it? Little dining area. What's dining? Is this the tavern space? What do we call the open tavern space?
I don't know. What do we call the open tavern space? The commons.
Communal area. And we have a stage. Then we have entrance. Then we have the bar, kitchen, owner's bedroom, and then this is the penthouse. I guess private bedroom. Yeah.
I got like deeper in my phone because your map's on my phone, so it's good though.
Yeah.
Private quarters, bar. All right. Owner's bedroom, private quarters. Yeah. How do restrooms work in this village? Because they don't have central plumbing. So is there an outhouse?
They could do. Depends how advanced you want them to be.
Yeah. Well, I imagine as a village, it doesn't have.
Slow down. It was a village. It's now a town, right? It's now a bustling town that's grown because of this this mining community.
It is a town next to a river,
Is it a tower? Sorry,
right?
let's
It's next to the
River Argo. Yes, it is. Yeah.
yeah. So it's close to the river Argol. So yeah, I guess you could have a way to get rid of it.
Yeah.
And that could be a plot point. All the shit flowing down to the Argo Forest, or well, I guess it would flow to the sea.
Yeah.
To Port Magnus.
I mean, and they had aqueducts as well, right? So it's just a question of how much do you think the Rexians would have invested in this area? Would they have built aqueducts for this town?
I mean, it is near a mine. It is basically a mining town, so
Yeah.
I would imagine that they value it quite highly.
Yeah.
I've never. Now, this is one of my regrets. I have not seen aqueducts in real life yet.
Really?
I have not been to that part of Europe.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they have them in Britain.
Well, yeah, I haven't been to
Yeah.
that part of Britain either.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
sorry,
but dude, they're super impressive. It's just a real marvel. Like, I know it's just a thing. It's just brickwork, but it's like they're so long and tall.
yeah.
And just
I mean, we could have fun with it and even say like that. Okay, where would the aqueduct? Because the aqueduct has to come from a body of water, right?
yeah.
But would the river work for that, or would it have to be like an actual like lake or something?
Good question. I mean, rivers always like flow downhill, right? So it's always going to be higher than you at some point.
Yeah, and I guess we're implying that since all the rivers are kind of coming from the Argol forest, that the forest is at a higher elevation than everything else. So
Yeah.
almost certainly they would have to cut down part of the forest and find a lake that like there should be lakes and rivers or something in the forest, I imagine.
Yeah, sure. I mean, that could also be a point of contention as well. Maybe when the aqueduct was first built, it involved cutting down part of the forest, and that wasn't necessarily well received even by the Penkawa.
Yeah, or by the Fae that live in that.
Well, that as well. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, all right.
Anyway, I've done your map.
technically. Wonderful. I love it.
Put
I
this
love it.
in the thing. Thank you.
I love it. It's wonderful. Good job. And now we know what this town looks like.
Yeah.
This little bar looks like.
Okay, what else do we need?
All right, so what's next?
So we got the name, we got the people who own it, we've got the reason why it's interesting or important because it's this mixture of Valak Raxian culture and it's a place for information. Common customers.
So these are the people, right? Like, what kind of people do this? So obviously we have Owen and Israd, or common
frequenters, I guess.
Maybe not customers, because this is also people that work in the bar, right?
Yeah.
Aside from Owen Istrad, right? There could be like a barmaid.
Common frequent faces. There you go.
Frequent faces. Yeah, we'll go with that for now.
Frequent faces for the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, and the first frequent face I want to bring up is
your boy.
Is our boy Captain Tullis.
Oh, really? Oh, that's not the one I was thinking. I was thinking of the bard, but yeah, Captain Tullis.
Oh, also Ulla.
Yeah.
Captain Tullis is a person we want to talk about.
Yeah, Captain Tullis is a good one.
Yeah, Captain Tullis, he's basically lived his whole adult life in this town. And so even though he like serves the Raxians, part of him is very Valak now, right? Like he loves like the culture and the town and everything about it. So he's very protective.
I mean, it was introducing, right? At the beginning of the tale, he's the one that calls the bards a fool, basically.
Yeah, he's like a young gun.
Yeah, fresh off the boat. Has things he wants to say about the local culture that's obviously inferior to his own.
Yeah.
And then he's put into place by his superior, and then he becomes the captain of the town and respects the
local customs and so on. And so I think a character like that's kind of interesting.
Yeah. So to put Captain Tullis in there.
Yeah. And he's also responsible for sort of keeping the peace, right?
Yeah, I guess so. Let's go to our Raxian society section. I'm going to there right now. 1 second. You carry on the Raxian society.
Yeah. So, but I imagine Captain Tullis. So he's a soldier. He's a soldier that has lived most of his adult life in Argodre. How do you say it? Argoldre?
Yeah, Argoldre. Yeah, Argoldre.
Argoldre. Again, my shitty pronunciation is
Yeah,
always
but it's
a
that
bad
one.
word.
So in Welsh it would be Argolltre, Argolltre.
Argoldre.
But I don't think
Argoldre.
the Raxians are saying it like that. So it's just,
So,
yeah.
having started as a fresh conscript and rising up to become the town's local captain.
Yeah. So we have it in the law that an arbiter is the governor of a fort or a large town, and its
Yeah.
region's military and civil working. So there's probably gonna be someone above him that's in charge, but
Sure.
he would be the person beneath that that's probably
Oh,
managing
so
the military and keeping things in order. Yeah, exactly.
yeah, so the arbiter, whatever the arbiter is. Okay, well, that's good. Yeah. The arbiter might also frequent it, right? And right up to the captain.
Oh no, I probably like the other way around. The arbiter never goes there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, fair enough.
he never goes there.
All right, fair enough.
And that's notable. And Captain Tullus is the one that kind of like talks to the locals and brings the complaints to the arbiter, and the arbiter like always ignores them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure. He's an important figure in the town since as he has a good respect for local customs.
Yeah, and he has
And
the ear of the
people.
arbiter. Yeah.
Hero, while also being second in command to the arbiter.
Yeah.
Arbiter, who is the main authority figure, the main Raxian. Yeah, I mean, do we also imagine that there's also like a Valak chief, right?
No, I don't think so.
You don't think so? Is it
No.
all? So would all just be Raxian at this point? Interesting.
I think at this town, it's part of the Raxian territory. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
And it might even be that Owen and Istrad are kind of the de facto Varlic leaders of the town because of their position, and it really is not much of a leadership at that. And they might feel strange having that kind of responsibility on their shoulder that's kind of been put there because there's nothing else. But if there's a Varlic in the community that needs help, where are they going to go?
Sure.
Yeah.
It could be that. But what I was saying is it could be like, is there a druid type figure? Yeah, that becomes the. Yeah, see, these are interesting questions. Like in a Valak, in a town with Valak and Raxians in Raxian territory on Avallen,
Yeah.
how many of the traditional Valak structures are still in place? Are there druids? And
no,
if so,
I really don't think so. If it's in the Raxian territory, then the druids there would be not necessarily illegal, but it wouldn't be a
okay,
what's the
cool.
word? A structure that's supported locally. It'll be shunned and pushed aside. Like if there's a druid, he'll be in the forest, and people have to go to seek him out. Yeah,
yeah. But Bard, like Valak Bards and Philly, those are still part of the kind of like the itinerant like travelers going in.
Yeah, but they're travelers, right? They're not.
Yeah, so they're not part of
necessarily even local. Yeah.
Interesting. Perhaps.
Yeah. So if you look at the map, I think the border is the River Argol. I think. I'm not completely sure about that. We haven't actually decided where the border is, but I think it's probably there.
Okay, yeah. So the Green Plentine is right there, and so the Rexian Empire is kind of. I see. So right up to Varanus's wall.
Yeah, and I think the River Tamases as well is the other divider. I think. So I think that Deva Victrix, that's Raxian, but I think Nerolamium possibly isn't. There's probably like a hybrid Penkawa Raxian town. But then
Right.
Oryxeldonium, the fort there on Varanus' wall in the west, that is Penkawer. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I think that's the divide. The River Tamases down to Argol Forest, and then the River Argol beneath that.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's the dividing
Yeah.
line.
And then
Yeah.
so there'll be more traditional Valak outside of those
Yeah, and when we say traditional, we still mean
demarcations.
Raxian influenced, but the Penkawer they probably will have a leader, but they might even call themselves Arbiter still. But it will have a more similar structure to the Valak society. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
So Captain Tilt is important for this reason because he's the captain, but he respects both the Valak customs and his role as the Raxian second in command. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. He is. So he is generally well liked by.
Well, I think that's enough now on Capitulus, isn't it?
Yeah.
We've got like a paragraph on him already.
Yeah.
Mhm. And I'm going
That kind of
in
thing.
1 minute apparently, but I can
Oh.
hang out a little bit longer.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Let's do
Yeah.
one more figure.
One more figure.
And not the bard. Let's come up with someone new. Something
like
interesting.
like a local,
like merchant
some sort of
or
merchant.
troublemaker
Yeah. Some sort of merchant.
Yeah.
Yeah. So merchant or vagrant, but maybe a merchant would
Let's
make a
do
lot of sense.
merchant, and then I think the tie-in here is that they like to sell rarities, especially from the Argol Forest, and that kind of thing. And they like to encourage traders and adventurers to bring in things that maybe are forbidden or aren't commonly found in the Rexian Empire. Because he himself, he doesn't have... A lot of merchants travel north to find this kind of thing directly from the source. But he, for whatever reason, won't brave that and would rather the adventurers come to him, I suppose. That's the first idea I had.
That's not bad. It's good. And likes to contribute to things that are rare in his homeland. So he's like in and out. He's not always there. He like travels back and forth all the time.
Yes, yeah, exactly. It's an opportunity when he's there.
Forth frequently.
Yeah.
Between Avallen and Ataraxia.
It could be anywhere else in Ataraxia. It could be somewhere else, but yeah.
And abroad, and overseas.
Yeah.
Overseas, and so is often a good source of information about the outside world.
Yeah.
But which often comes at a price of either gold or services.
Yeah. So I like the idea of this being a guy that just gives you the kind of the simple quests of, hey, can you get this for me, and I'll give you this, and it ends up leading to something else. But yeah.
And it's situated in the world. It makes sense for like the world and what it means, right?
Yeah.
And what is their name? Their name is Akko.
Nah.
No. Yes. No.
Nah.
Their name is what's a good name?
Well, what do they look like? Is it a dude? Is it a chick? Are they old? Are they young?
Is it a dude or a chick? Can we please be more progressive, Jared? Is it a...
What? What's wrong with dude and chicks?
I'm just kidding. I feel like in the Fairy Queen, one of our main rarity traders was female, right? She in the heist wasn't the she wasn't a trader, but she was a collector.
Oh yeah, but and then we had the male one as well, so we actually had both.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We'll leave it up to the chat. What do you think?
Let's flesh them out a bit more, I guess. So why don't they want to? Why don't they venture north, or do they? I feel like there needs to be like a twist in them, a bit of intrigue. What's intriguing about them? Is it the fact that they want to go north, or is it that they're interested in these rarities that might not be legal?
I think the twist is a twist. So potential potential secret. What do you call it?
Yeah.
So if you want to give him a secret that she's what would be control adventures, travels. We'll save they for now. They travel back and forth freely between Avallen and overseas. Is it that they the noble blood? There's like the noble blood trope, like they're actually noble blood, and so they have to keep the trading secret, kind of thing.
Yeah. Nah.
Yeah. Does it have to have like? Does it have to have a bit of intrigue? First of all,
No.
can it just be this is your adventure person?
Yes.
Right?
I guess it's. I mean, they're asking adventurers to do things for them because they're difficult to do for themselves and they can't get this stuff from anywhere else. So maybe there's just an illegal aspect to it. Maybe it's just not all above board.
Sure.
And maybe there's implications there that Tullus is somewhat not necessarily corrupt, but maybe he gets paid by this person, or someone else does, to do trade here. I don't know. Maybe I'm reaching there.
No, well, I like the idea of like very secretive because they sometimes they have customers.
Yeah, deal with otherworldly goods, right?
Whereas interested in otherworldly goods, and the Raxian government shuns has a ban on exporting that sort of thing, right? Because if they're very focused on the state of life of ataraxia and shunning the other world, or like shunning
supernatural,
sort of supernatural, then they wouldn't want to export that stuff, but it still gets in through. So he's basically what do you call it? He's basically, or they're basically, whatever the gender is, they're basically a supernatural poacher.
Yeah, poacher in a way,
Yeah. So whether or not that's okay with the is that okay with the adventurers? Because I don't know, like, is that now when I say poacher, that sounds like a villainous trait.
Yeah.
But maybe it's okay. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it depends. I mean, poacher implies to me like animals, right? Like they're asking the heroes to go hunt a fae and bring it back to them. That obviously sounds terrible. But if it's go find this mushroom that's only found in the other world, then I think that's more forgiving. Yeah.
Black market supernatural goods exporter.
Sure.
Again, we'll make that sound nicer later, but that's essentially what they are, right?
Yeah.
And so that's why they're always on the. So personality-wise, we could choose we can use the system, like what's their motivation, right? So we could do that too. So
let's go to old character creation.
So motivation, and what we could go back and do tell us their motivation is definitely is it.
We have challenge, devotion, discovery, impulse, and influence.
Yeah. And those are one of those is probably pretty good to choose.
Yeah.
I would say that their motivation is.
I think it's challenge. Like he wants to prove himself. Like, and maybe that's why he was so uppity when he first came here, right? Like he wanted to. Be a force. He wants to be known, and he wants to push boundaries and see where he fits in. And now he's kind of risen up to a position. Yeah.
Is that right? Like he wants to prove himself to the upper class clientele he deals with.
Yeah.
And eventually join their ranks.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's why he's working out here.
Yeah. Yes.
And his virtue is that he's
just.
You think he's just?
Yeah, I think because he's fair, right? He's fair to both the Varlic and Rexians, or you could say wise maybe. Maybe it's wise actually. Maybe that ends up being his virtue, in that he sees benefits in keeping some of the old with some of the new.
Oh, sure. Wise. See the benefits of honoring the old ways, but blending them with new progressive ideas.
Yeah.
Or something. And then their flaw is they're a little bit reckless. No, wait. Yeah, wait. The flaw of excess.
Maybe it's servile.
Oh, sure.
Like
he's a ladder climber.
Yeah, and he doesn't speak truth to power. Like maybe he does know there's problems going on, maybe he doesn't bring them to the Arbiter. Like when people come to him, he doesn't necessarily bring it up, or he doesn't push for it as much as he'd want to.
All right.
Yeah. Because it's part of the challenge, right? He wants to climb ranks. So
as a clout chaser,
yeah,
we're using very modern. Again, this will be nicer later. These are just ideas. Doesn't necessarily always speak truth to power.
Yeah.
I.e., if something in town happens that is unjust, is very uncomfortable with delivering bad news.
Yeah, to the Arbiter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is an issue with his. This is somewhat at odds, though, with his motivations of trying to raise his status, because he often places himself below those he respects or something. You know, like this idea, he wants to be like these people, but he's caught in this thing of where he can't reach their level because he's constantly obsequious and worshiping them or whatever.
Was that word obsequious? That's a good word, dude. What's obsequious?
Obsequious? Like he's just like annoyingly what do you call it? Obedient to other people.
Yeah, servile. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry,
that was good though. I'm looking it up now.
Okay. All right, Night Munabunds. Yeah, we're almost done. We're almost done here, right?
Yeah, I gotta go to bed.
yeah. Sorry. Oh no. But I think this is good. We have a good start to a cool place, and it answers a lot of questions about how like this town functions, right?
Yeah. I like it as well, and we don't have to fill out the motivation, virtues, and things for the merchant just now, but we know that they're there, and there's this interesting dynamic here of there being Owen and Istrat, the Varlic folk that set up this community that Captain Tullus was once opposed to, or not opposed to, but didn't quite appreciate, and then grew into it over time.
Yeah. So he's a character with dimensions, and he knows what it's like to be a fresh off boat Raxian. But he's very protective of the Valak, both peoples underneath his. He doesn't villainize them, and I think that's a really good character trait to have in a guard like this, who could be an ally, but he could also be an antagonist if they run afoul of the peace.
Well, I think the best part about him was maybe, like, if we do go into this flaw, is that he's kind of a false ally, in that on the surface level he does do what he says he does, but then...
Oh, the merchant,
No, I'm talking about Captain Tullus.
Oh, Tullus. Oh, I see.
But then when it comes down to it, if there's something really wrong, he's actually not going to be there for the community, because if the Arbiter rules one way, he's going to follow what's said.
He's the sword.
Yeah,
because ACAB, right? ACAB. So,
yeah.
Anyway.
Awesome. Let's stop
Cool.
there then.
All right.
Cool.
Well, we made up 5 people. We didn't give a name to the merchant, but we don't have to decide on that now.
Yeah, that's fine.
But we made up backstories and stuff for 5 people: a village, a short history, its place within the community, and also our general philosophy of how taverns and shops and so on work on the island of Avallen as people develop their own worlds.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
and it's called the Bee's Knees. So what's not to
it's
like?
called the Genua Apis.
Yeah.
Genua Apis, and the best honey mead this side of the river Tamesis.
Hell yeah! All right, awesome, dude.
All right, you ready to call it?
Yeah, ready to call it.
Thank you. All right, that was fun. We'll see you next week.
Next week.
Same bad time, same bad channel.
Same place, same time. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. See you guys. Get some rest.
Good night, dude. Oh, good day.
Later, bud.
Thanks.
All right, you too. Peace.
Thank you, everyone.